Channel Sports Central being over a college football game preview and prediction on the 2021 Orange Bowl between the Texas A&M Aggies and the North Carolina Tar Heels, two teams that have had outstanding seasons, especially Texas A&M, who just finished right outside of being in the top four for the college football playoff. They sit at number 5 right now, and they've got an 8-1 record. Meanwhile, for North Carolina, they also had a great season. They're 8-3. Sam Howell has had a huge breakout season, and all around both teams here should make for a great matchup in the Orange Bowl. We're going to go over a full game preview and prediction on this game here today, starting out with your team trends. Last game for Texas A&M, they beat Tennessee 34-13 was the final score in that matchup, which was a great win for the Aggies to finish out the regular season. As for North Carolina, they beat Miami 62-26 was the final score there in that game that took place on December 12th. That was definitely the signature win of the season so far for North Carolina. I mean, for North Carolina, this is a team that the committee really never gave up on from the start, and I can totally see why now, as they had that huge win over Miami, and this is a team that's currently ranked 13th, so really not too terrible there. But they also kept close with Notre Dame. They did take a loss to Notre Dame, but they kept the game close, which is definitely something worth noting as we move forward into this game. But winning streaks for both these teams, Texas A&M is ranked 5th. They're 8-1 with a 7-game winning streak. This Texas A&M team has not lost a single game except for that Alabama loss at the beginning of the season. Then as for North Carolina, they're 8-3 with a 2-game winning streak, and their latest loss was to Notre Dame on November 27th. This game is going to be on Saturday, January 2nd, 8 p.m. Eastern Time in Miami. Spread currently says Texas A&M by 7.5. ESPN FPI is also going with the Aggies here, 63%. And lastly, your Vegas prediction is also going on the Texas A&M side, 38-31 being the current projected final score. So the Aggies are favored here in all three areas. Not much of a surprise, considering how good of a team Texas A&M has been all season. Like, many people, including myself, really thought that Texas A&M should have been in the top 4. Like, personally, I mean, Notre Dame's a great team. The thing is that Notre Dame hasn't been as good recently as Texas A&M has. In my opinion, the Aggies, if we had Texas A&M and Notre Dame play each other, there's no doubt in my mind that Texas A&M would win at this point, because Notre Dame, I mean, down the stretch, Notre Dame just has kind of fallen a little bit. Like, ever since that Clemson win, Notre Dame really has not been as good, which is surprising to say, but it's very true. But Texas A&M has just gotten better over the season, and this is a team that I think honestly would have a good matchup against Alabama. They probably keep that game close, I think, if they played each other again. But Texas A&M is just how it is. They're in the Orange Bowl, and this is still going to be a huge game for them if they want to prove to the committee that they're worthy of being in the top 4. But for North Carolina here, I mean, North Carolina is an underdog in this game, but I definitely think North Carolina has a potential to make this one a close one. But here's our stack pressure for this game. Texas A&M's got 31 points per game, 21 points allowed. They got 234 passers a game, 202 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, they got 224 passing, and then 92 rushing. As for North Carolina, though, they got 43 points per game, 20 points allowed. They got 307 passers a game, 249 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, they got 248 passing, and then 147 rushing. So really for both sides here, both teams have got some really great areas, especially on the offensive side. I mean, North Carolina's got Sam Howell, who has had he's had a hell of a season. He's put up some great stats, 3,300 yards on the season, 27 touchdowns, 6 interceptions is what he's put up. They got Kellen Mond on the other side with Texas A&M, who's also had a great season, just over 2,000 yards on the season for him with 19 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. So really for both sides here, I mean, both teams have got great quarterbacks. That is definitely something worth mentioning, as you got Kellen Mond on one side, Sam Howell on the other, which I think both quarterbacks should have futures in the NFL for sure. I mean, Sam Howell, being as young of a quarterback as he is, like we saw him last season put up the stats that he did, he's really improved from last season, in my opinion. He's also got a great completion rate. You can't forget about that as well. But, I mean, even the rushing core for both sides is also great. I mean, you got Isaiah Spiller on the Texas A&M side, who's put up nearly 1,000 yards. And then you got Carter on the North Carolina side, who's got over 1,000 yards. He's currently sitting right around 1,300 yards on the season, 9 touchdowns. So both sides have got a lot of points coming into this matchup. So there's a good chance that we do see more of a high-scoring game. But Texas A&M's defensive line and their rushing defense is really good. They got 92 average rush yards allowed per game, which is a great stat line there. So Texas A&M is definitely great on the defensive side too. But for North Carolina, main concern for them is whether or not they can stop Isaiah Spiller and whether or not this team can really handle Kellen Mond, because Kellen Mond's had a great season and all around. I mean, this team has allowed 147 rush yards per game, which is not a very good stat there. So really for both sides here, I'd probably say Texas A&M is the better team statistically, but really both sides once again do have some great positives, especially the offenses. Both offenses on each of these sides and each of these teams are really good. Some key points for this one: Texas A&M just got left out of the college football playoff, and this is a team that I'm sure is pretty fired up from that. So that's going to be a huge motivator as they come into this North Carolina game. Going for the Tar Heels, they look to be playing the best that they have been all season right now. Of course, they did take a loss against Notre Dame a few weeks back, but they kept the game close. It was a close loss to Notre Dame. And otherwise, I mean, they've been playing pretty well. They've put up a lot of high-scoring games, and of course, they're coming off of that huge win against Miami, 62-26. Once again, was your final score there. I mean, so North Carolina's been playing great over the past couple of games, and North Carolina's got a ton of momentum coming into this matchup, so that's going to be really impactful for them. Both teams do have the momentum, though. I mean, if you look at Texas A&M, they're playing really well as well. They had big wins over LSU, Auburn, and a blowout win over Tennessee to finish out the season. So really, both teams are coming into this game with a ton of momentum, and that's why this game is going to be such a good one. But do expect, I'd say, moderate to high scoring in this game. Both teams definitely should put up a decent amount of points, considering you got two great quarterbacks and two great offenses in general. That's what I'm going with, though. I'm going to go with Texas A&M here. I think North Carolina is definitely capable of winning this game. And really, if you told me that the Tar Heels were going to win it, I would believe you. I mean, it would not be a surprise at all to see North Carolina win this game. But I just think Texas A&M, they're the more complete team right now. I mean, North Carolina is still really young, and I don't think that they're really capable of handling the high-pressure situations as much as Texas A&M is right now. I mean, Texas A&M does have the more experienced quarterback than North Carolina. I mean, Sam Howell's a great quarterback, but he's not as experienced as Kellen Mond is. I think Kellen Mond's going to have a huge day as well. We're going to see a 38-31 win for the Aggies. Halftime score is going to be 21-17, so we will be seeing Texas A&M lead the majority of this game, I think. But I definitely think North Carolina is going to be right in the background there. This is going to be a close game all the way to the finish. But North Carolina, I just don't think that they're quite good enough to beat a team like Texas A&M quite yet. I mean, Texas A&M over the course of the season has had a huge improvement. Their only loss is to an Alabama team that has been outstanding this season. Texas A&M is going to have a 60% chance of winning this game, so I do think Texas A&M will win it, but it will be a close one, and it will be more of a moderate scoring game. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this game. Score predictions, all of that, let me know in the comments below. I appreciate you guys all sticking around and watching this one. If you enjoyed it, slap a like on it, subscribe as well. As a real episode of the channel, I'd really appreciate that. But once again, thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll catch you on the next one.